get an award. And I remember the hotel there was the one where there were, there was a lot of violence there.
Delhi?
In Mumbai.
Mumbai. Okay.
Yeah.
So for how long you stayed?
3 weeks maybe.
3 weeks.
Something like that.
So
And
what were your main activities regarding...
it was, I'll show you the award actually.
So it was to collect some cuttings of newspapers and regarding Martin Luther King Jr.'s visit to India?
That was one of my visits, but you can see this is the one I did in. My I remember, maybe I told you about this when Prasad came to visit me at Stanford. He brought another guy who was known as one of the leading atheists in India, and they both invited me to
hold it out again. Let's get another shot of that. There we go.
To come. And this was 2009, so this was 2007 maybe. But in any case, I went.
I don't know what period we're talking about.
We were talking about...
another person who was Carter. Carter had
Yeah.
a lot of.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, Mary King, who you probably read some of her, because she was in the Carter administration.
So if we talk about India and Pakistan, especially the political happenings, so I appear on TV sometime and I have talked what I have observed, that India and Pakistan, they cannot be away from the political crisis. All the political crisis will continue because democracy is not indigenous system. It is borrowed from the Western society, and Western society is totally different from that of India and Pakistan. So if the social scientists or historians or political scientists try to adapt some system and they create some compatibility between system and the local environment, then this system can be effective in those countries. Otherwise, I predict that that both of the country will continue to face the political crisis. After a few decades, they will continue. Because
I would just put it more simply that they're leaving out when King died, he was saying, where do we go from here? And his view was that unless you dealt with the economic issues on a global scale, you're never going to solve these problems. As long as there's this wide gulf between the wealthy and the poor. And that has to be, and that can't just be in one nation. You have to, and are we moving even closer to that, or are we moving further away from that? And I think in most places we're moving further away from that. Look, under Trump, under Modi.
Are there institutions either in India or Pakistan that would support representative democracy of some kind? I'm hearing that maybe not natural to them.
I think if you go to I would agree with King on the notion that unless you deal with the economic issue, you're never going to deal with the political issue. And that as long as there's this huge gulf between rich and poor, you're not going to solve the economic because that's reinforces.
Mhm.
You know, they reinforce each other.
Mhm.
You know, the political system depends on those who have wealth.
Mhm.
Now there have been attempts, and you've probably heard about them in India, to try to figure out like how to move forward, but it's on a very it's now more powerful here than it was when King was assassinated. You know, it's we live in a capitalist world,
Mhm.
and I think unless we deal with that, I think that religion, quite frankly, is a barrier to doing that.
Mhm.
I think people use religion a lot of times as a substitute for thinking about economic issues. Like, you know, what do you know, if there's a heaven and there's a God, you know, why are you worrying about you only have a pennies? That the economic system is unfair.
Mhm.
And you know, so I think that you have to. That's why, you know, I think Susan knows this. I don't believe in God up there. I have no belief that there's a God up there. I think God is simply our conscience.
But the
right
rest of the
and wrong.
people, the problem is, that's fine for you or for me, but other people
They do.
see their religion as fundamental to who they are.
I know, but that's the beginning of a barrier.
Mhm.
I mean, if you believe that your religion is the right religion, you're saying that this other person is going to hell,
Yes.
and as long as you have that division, how are you going to ever solve these problems?
It's just like it was a abuse of nationalism before World War One. That my country is my nation is great, and the other are nothing.
Yeah.
So abuse of nationalism is just like the abuse of religion or any theory.
Mhm.
So that was very simple. That my parents, my house is good,
Mhm.
but it does not mean the other are ugly or other are bad. But
Once you have religion play a role in society and in government, there's a kind of absolutism which is highly dangerous to any democratic institutions, because democracy means you're treating people's religion as secondary to their citizenship. If you turn it around and make religion a litmus test, you're never going to have democracy, and you'll never have the broad range of people speaking their true voices. And that has to change, or we won't see any hope for peace in certain parts of the world.
I think Martin Luther King Jr. said that religion can be separated from the politics, but not from the society. So
Right.
government is different and society is different.
I don't believe, I just believe that we have to get away from this notion that we have all these, to me, if there is a God, we don't have lots of religions. Because, if I were God and I was looking at the earth and I was saying, they believe in me, but they don't even, they fight each other. They're killing each other.
Yeah.
Why should, and to me that, so you have to almost start with a reconception of what God is.
Yes.
And,
Yes.
and to me, God is your conscience. There's a side of you that says what is right and wrong. It's built into your system. It's part of it. It develops just like your other things develop throughout evolution. But
look at
people
the founding. Look at Ken Burns, who's giving us a picture of the founders. And they were extraordinarily careful not to allow religion to become dominant.
And I think that is exactly right. I think the most healthy period in the United States was when you had, the invention of religions that were more open to equality.
I think when we talk about these things, so we can go to the transcendentalism and the other thinkers, American political thinkers, who paved the way to look at the future generations, that if American society needs transcendentalism, and they should not approach the other thinkers of other continents, but they must have their own thinkers, and they should embrace transcendentalism. Emerson.
Well, there was that movement. Emerson was part of it, I guess.
Yeah.
Of trying to. I mean, the Unitarian Church comes out of that. That they wanted to get away from that dogma of religion, and I think that was very healthy. And I mean, I don't go to church now, but when I did, I went to a Unitarian church, and it was the one place where I felt they were not putting down people who didn't believe in it.
Yes.
They were saying, and I think I've continued to try to develop that idea that I'm a materialist. I don't believe in that there's this thing up there. And I think if there is a God, it's your conscience, nothing more.
But it is to put all responsibility on God if we are to accept the existence of God. That if there is no justice.
You're always interpreting. You use the term God, but God can be interpreted multitude of ways to benefit you and not benefit other people. The founders of America, those revolutionaries, Franklin, Jefferson, Adams, were very leery of allowing a religion in except a personal belief. It had nothing to do.
That was the whole basis. That was the whole basis of the Unitarian Universalists.
So did they talk about religion, John Adams, Madison, Jefferson's? I think they were more concerned with the politics and administration, not religion. Yes.
Their religion was their politics, and vice versa. I mean, but I think they came closer. I mean, one of the things that Jefferson did, the Jefferson Bible. What did he do? He went through the Bible. Oh, that didn't happen. Cross that out. and just took it rationally. And of course, in many countries, that can get you killed.
All of these founders really saw religion as an ethical factor,
that's what
not a religious. They would pay obeisance for a moment, in God we trust. All others pay cash.
Yeah. I mean, when someone says, I heard from God last night, I said, do you have a tape recorder? Do you have a phone? Did you record God? No one has ever said, listen to God. It's a farce. It's something that comes through your brain, and it's just so much easier to just say, I consulted my conscience last night. It's inside me. I have a well-developed conscience. If you want to call it God, that's fine with me. But it's not something that lives up in the sky. It's not something that other people need to understand. It's simply my conscience. It developed just like my hands and everything else through evolution.
Yes, but all these conscience, but we have information that is conceived from the holy books, and then that goes to
that's the problem.
The routes.
No, you got it backwards. Who wrote those holy books, and who called them holy?
And who interprets the book?
Yeah.
Book of words, and then someone sits down and says, "This is what it means."
I mean, look at the Bible. It is, and you know, I've read people who kind of critically examine it. And first of all, it wasn't written all at one time. It was, you know, probably Peter had more. Pauline had more to do with it, but it was something that developed over time, and even then it went off in lots of different directions, and that's why I find it really hard to have this kind of extraterrestrial notion of that God is out there. I think we do have a conscience.
I think this is a right time to revise my question. That what was the impact of religion on the leadership of Martin Luther King Jr.
Like those students at the ashram. You know, they have Gandhi's ideas written on the wall. What is it? You know, I mean, go through the whole list of them. But they would not walk across the street to see the Muslim community. And it just seemed crazy to me, you know, that you have this religion that supposedly tells you to be, you know, in fact, I could almost quote them from well, anyway, it's what I remember is that they teach things that are sometimes very useful, you know, like be kind, and they write them on the wall and all that, and they seemed incredulous when they said, you know, like, okay, you know, there's some nice principles, I agree with them all, you know, you write them on the wall, but you won't go across the street. And that to me says more than anything you could write on the wall. I mean, yeah, these kids across the street, they're not murderers. I went by myself with my expensive camera, and I didn't worry about it. Mm-hmm. And they were very, you know, poor people tended to be very kind. Mm-hmm. And this was in Ahmedabad, yeah, because that's where they had the riot. And you know, the invasion of the Muslim community there. Mm-hmm. Hundreds of people were killed in that rioting. And that's only one of the many riots. Mm-hmm. And I mean, you know, to me, if you get away from, if you get to that notion that I have religion, you have belief, that's the first thing that leads to war.
Mm-hmm. I think what you're saying is put the dogma aside and deal with ethics. Yeah. You know, it's the ethical part of religion that we tend to admire. Mm-hmm. And that's what any religion, whatever it is, it's the ethical values that drives the culture and should not be the religious values. Those are personal choices.
And you're right, the people who founded the United States recognized that and actually barred religion from politics. Mm-hmm. I mean, Jefferson went through the Bible and crossed out everything that he couldn't prove. So, you know, and I feel the same way. When somebody tells me God told me something, I say, look, did you get a recording? You know, did he write it down? How do you know it's a he? You know, it makes no sense to me. Mm-hmm. And I think, and especially when you end up killing other people, because of religious difference.
They fight over dogma, not
Yeah.
moral values, ethical
Yeah.
values.
And-
It's
and-
always the dogma.
And that goes on forever. I mean, the fights between Protestant denominations is just as bad as,
Well, there's European battles of religion
yeah.
over, people get over minutia.
Mhm.
Are you a Trinitarian? Or do you believe in one God? Do you believe in three God? That's not good. Believe in one God? That's good. Why? That's dogma. The belief in just a higher being is fine as long as you don't make it into dogma, because then you challenge other people's belief. You then say you're believing the wrong thing.
If there really was a God in that sense, we wouldn't have 100 different religions in the world.
Yes, I think it's unending
It's not.
discussion. Yes,
It doesn't happen. It goes on.
because philosophy deals with this issue, and it's unending.
Yeah,
Yes, yes.
I'm
Debate,
having fun
yes.
with it, but
Yes. It's very.
it's kind of like trying to understand. I think I grew up in a scientific community, and that's probably different from most. I mean, Los Alamos, they did a lot of things but religion was not a big deal.
I think that the human nature, some people like there are flowers, some people like rose, some people like otherwise. So it is a choice of the people. Some people like religion, some like other culture and other. But the basic thing what I have conceived from my experience that there must be peace and there should be no violence. If you minus hatred and violence from every system, from every theory, so human being can conclude a very good life.
Yeah, and
Yes.
how can you get there if you're saying that the other person is going to hell?
Yes. So definitely it is based on hatred. So if there would be hatred, as love breeds more love, and hatred breeds more hate.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
that
if you think about it just in terms of evolution, I think that most religions started at the time when the population started growing to a certain size. Before that, there was much more spiritualism and different things like that. But modern religions really pretty much started in the last few thousand years. And I think it was largely because you needed to have some beliefs that people could agree on. Even though, from the very start, because some people agreed on some other things, religious wars probably killed more wars than World War I and II put together.
I categorize this the divine ethics that is part of human nature, and then there was emergence of culture, and then after that religion comes, but the divine ethics remain same throughout the world, in all the societies, in all religions, in all culture.
What do you mean by
Divine ethics mean murder is bad, so rape is
why
bad.
do you say divine, though? I would say just ethics.
Yes, definitely you have different, but we call it divine ethics. For example, if there are any hen or some duck, if they are thrown in the water, so hen will not survive and duck will continue swimming. So who taught it the art of swimming? That's the nature. It's a natural instinct. and there was no need to go to some academy to get some other art. So some things are natural, spontaneous. That's a part of human nature. So that is,
I think it is part of human nature to think that there is a set of, you can call it religious values. I would just call it
Some fundamental values.
fundamental.
yes,
values.
fundamental values, whatever you. But we call, in my writings I have call it divine, because human beings were created by God as we believe. So that is a divine ethics, the basic ethics, human ethics. You can say that
But some people
fundamental
believe we
ethics.
came
Yes,
other ways.
definitely.
Whether you believe a divine hand took place or natural selection took place,
Yes.
the point is it should be a personal belief and not something imposed upon people.
Exactly. Where force will come, hatred will come, negation of other people will come. So definitely there would be a problem.
I think there would be less if there was a common understanding that God is your conscience of right and wrong. And period. That's something that you could say all cultures developed a set of ethical sense of what is right and wrong. The ones that developed that were not very useful destroyed themselves.
But all these, whether these ethics are called fundamental ethics or human ethics, but they are same throughout the world, in all the societies, in all culture, in all the groups. I think yes.
I would.
Yes.
I don't know about the same in the sense. I think they come from the same source. But even if you accept my argument that they come from your sense of right and wrong, from that rather than from an external God.
Well, I think that if you are saying that it comes from conscious, God is a concept in the conscious. So definitely, a conscious, everyone has conscious. If
The need for ethical values to regulate society itself is inherent in a successful society.
Exactly.
Where you ascribe it, where the fundamentals come from, doesn't really make any difference. The thing is, we all societies have a common set of ethical values, and whether you ascribe it to religion or the development of an understanding of fundamental values that are necessary to have a well-regulated society, it really doesn't make any difference in the end where it comes from. And I think every society will have similar ethical values of one kind or another, just in order to maintain itself on a reasonable plane of civility. And if it's
or you have wars.
yes, your basic point is very strong. But as we are people who are religionist and we do believe, although we are against hatred, violence, and all kind of things, and we always preach the same, the love and peace, harmony, interfaith harmony. But when I look at the crops, birds, nature, trees, flowers, they are found in all continents, in all countries. Rose, with different names. So perhaps it's a compatibility and uniformity and unity of human beings that we must live as nature guide us.
I think that we're right now at an early stage in a development of I think that if you compare us to, say, 300 years ago, when people made a film actually about the Pakistani general. What was his name?
Right
Shahid-
now?
What?
Right now?
No, about 100 years ago.
Pervez Musharraf?
Yeah, it's been years since I've seen the film, but
Mhm.
apparently a very charismatic military leader who and oh gosh, who was making it
Who was president of the United States at that time?
of Pakistan?
No,
The United States.
United States.
What year are we talking about?
When we can recognize who was the president in Pakistan, General Ayub Khan. Ayub,
Maybe it's been 20 years.
because he was well received by the United States in the 50s or 60s, I think.
Oh no, this
Well,
was.
that's Lyndon Johnson.
And so one day I just got my camera and started wandering through, I just crossed the street, which they never do.
Oh my God.
And these were young people who were, very idealistic and stuff like that, but they never crossed the street. And so when I went across, these are the people I met
Mm-hmm.
on the street, but this was these students right here, and to my knowledge, that's why I'm mixing these pictures.
Were those the Untouchables on the other side of the street? That they
Um,
were.
They were not Hindu.
They were not Hindu.
They were, mainly they were Muslims.
Mainly they were Muslims,
Mm.
and they were poor.
Yeah.
And
So had you?
you could kind of tell, here. I mean, this is, these are the Hindu kids.
Mm-hmm.
These are the Muslim kids.
Mm-hmm.
You can tell, they're in terms of how they're dressed and stuff, and the background. And these kids were right across the street from these kids.
Oh,
And
it's interesting. First time I'm listening such narrative. Although we were very close and we have eye on all the events.
that is a blind spot, because they have all these ideals which they put on the wall.
So had you met some Sikh leader there or Sikh community?
I don't remember that. I remember, one of the people who came to visit me and invited me
In Mumbai?
was an atheist guy.
Atheist. Okay.
I don't know if you know him, but anyway, he also said it's very hard to be an atheist in India, and but he was very interested in the politics of it.
Hmm. As apparently he seemed a Sikh guy, or
I don't think so. There are progressive Hindus too.
Okay, yeah.
So it's not that all of them are racist or.
I think
I just find it strange that you have kids who they have written on the wall all these principles. Yeah, like right here, all these principles that they're supposed to learn, but they don't go right across the street.
yes, this is very strange. Yes.
Yeah.
So physically, I think you had participated in the protest launched by Martin Luther King Jr.
Oh yeah. Ever since the March on
So
Washington.
in all protests or in Selma March, Birmingham?
No. I was out here in California.
Mm-hmm.
I was at the March on Washington,
Mm-hmm.
but I was as a traveler.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, do you want to get back in your seat?
Oh yes, please come.
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
You had to wait. I'm really sorry for that.
That's okay. She's not comfortable sitting in the...
Yes, definitely.
Maybe you can, introduce
Sorry.
yourselves? By the way, she's Jewish.
Stand for good luck, okay?
So, Martin Luther King Jr.'s leadership. Some people say that he conceived all these skills, art from Morehouse College. Some says that he got this.
Just a
Sure, please.
Hello.
Thank you.
This is Clay Carson. I'm in a meeting, but yeah, that would be good.
You comfortable?
I think so. Okay, sure.
Yeah.
So some stance says that he was impacted by the Christianity because he belonged to a religious family. So what do you think his elevation, his motives, his some reasons are motivating factors behind his leadership or elevation to the leadership?
Who's?
Martin Luther King Jr. When he rose to in Montgomery bus boycott,
Right.
and he rose to the leadership, although he was reluctant to accept the leadership in the start, but his senior fellows convinced him to come forward. So, what is your take on whether it was the religion behind? He was fighting for racial discrimination, or some impact of the teachers or specific courses of Morehouse, because some people say the Morehouse college had great impact on his personality.
Yeah, I taught there too. So.
Yes.
But,
I have gone through all your work.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, but I think that the point I would make is that he was a globalist, especially in his later years. That he wanted to forge a global movement to deal with poverty, and the person who I believe was the I met the guy. He led the land reform movement in India. I'm blanking on his name right now.
Mm-hmm.
But in any case, he's one of the people I met there. And I think I even have some pictures of him. And maybe you would be able to tell me. By the way, this was an interesting. I was in.
Mumbai.
No, this was in. Who's the music guy in India?
Calcutta.
Plays the drums and.
I think it's Mumbai or Calcutta.
But he has his. But in any case, he invited. This is a major jazz person, and what they were doing was bringing together jazz and Indian music, and I remember spending a week.
Yes, they are very rich in civilization related to music, art. So fantastic, yes.
Yeah, and there was he had a daughter. Do you remember what her name was? The one who had a hit song in the United States. Remember there was a musician, and this is Herbie Hancock, who's a jazz musician, because I remember they were trying to bring together Indian music and jazz, and they actually spent a week kind of. I don't know exactly what the cause of it or the result of it was, but I remember watching them trying to find if there's a common denominator.
Yeah.
And you've heard of Herbie Hancock, right?
Herbie Hancock. Yeah, I know Herbie Hancock. Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
so that's what he was doing. And, why am I having trouble with his name?
Yeah, I think the first introduction was through the Beatles a number of years before they introduced Indian music to the West, at least as far as young people knew it at that time.
Yeah. Well, I remember that he had a studio, and so I came because he invited Herbie Hancock and said, let's jam, for a week. And so I found it very interesting to see how they were trading ideas about music, because they didn't even use the same scale.
In a 12-tone versus
So it was an interesting thing, but Herbie Hancock was really dedicated to doing it. And they wanted to learn more about jazz.
So you have contributed a lot to establish an institute at Stanford University,
Well, I did.
and you published King's paper. So great contribution on your side. So how you feel the legacy of Martin Luther King Jr., especially for the posterity?
Well, first of all, I think you need to realize that I was closer to the more militant side. A guy named Stokely Carmichael was my closest friend in the movement. And he was the guy who invented the Black Power slogan. And I remember when I first told him I wanted to go to the march, he said, "Why you want to go to that Washington picnic? Why don't you do something, come and join us in the South and join the movement down there?" And I said, look, I'm a Westerner. I'm not. But Stokely and I stayed in touch, and Stokely's views evolved because he became more global. He ended up, the last letter I had from him was from Africa. So I've spent a lot of time in South Africa in particular, Zambia. They invited me there for a month. And if I had that album done, I'm with the entire government of Zambia. Let's see, maybe some of it is right here. I'll come in a year. It'll be easy to find. But I probably, as I get older, I need to have names attached to these photos so that I can remember
You got to get it into your computer.
So you definitely might have concluded few lines about Martin Luther King, because huge material has been produced on personality, leadership, protest, and nonviolent philosophy. And so how you feel, especially direct action by Martin Luther King Jr. and his philosophy of nonviolence, and who were the writers behind this? His speech writing, his autobiography when his first book was produced. So how you feel? What are your conclusion?
Well, I came in later.
Okay.
After Martin's death, Coretta called me and said, "Would you edit his papers?" Because I don't think I would have taken it on myself. I was not a King follower.
Okay.
I was a Stokely follower. I was more militant than King.
Malcolm, you have produced work on Malcolm X as well.
Yeah.
Yes. So you believed in the direction taken by Malcolm X?
Not so much Malcolm X, but I thought he should be listened to, and I've, in addition to doing the King papers, I've done some of the Malcolm papers. In fact, I think
Oh, that's great.
there's a book over here.
That's great.
but I liked the tension, and Stokely Carmichael was not in a different category. She was kind of between Malcolm on one side and King on the other side, and Stokely Carmichael somewhere in the middle. And and the movement was not homogeneous. There were lots of different. There was a group called the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, and that's the book I chose to write a book about. And it wasn't until later, in fact, I probably would have never written a book about Martin Luther King if Coretta hadn't called me after my book about SNCC was done. And she said, I remember both of us met a historian named John Hope Franklin, and he was close to. He was on the board of directors of the Martin Luther King Center in Atlanta, and I think he recommended. In fact, I know he recommended to Coretta that I be hired to do the King Papers, because I would have never applied to the job but she called me, and right here in this house, we. In fact, I remember my daughter answered the phone, and I wasn't there at the time, and she kind of. And then when I got home, the Coretta King called you. And I said, what? And
She was a little.
yeah, she didn't know. Yeah, and then of course later on she called, and we had a lot of fights because she wanted me to do the papers, but she also wanted to control the papers.
Yes, we listened that she did not let the other do as they like. She wanted to go as she liked.
I think she just wanted the control over them.
Yes.
And ownership. And it's a very American thing.
Yeah.
In fact, the entire family, they feel like they copyrighted.
There may be some material benefits as well.
But how much of the access did she give you? You always had problems with the family in terms of getting access to speeches in certain areas.
No. She was very open about the speeches and the writings and stuff like that. Where we had problems was the FBI file. And again, that's another book.
So do you think that all the papers have been declassified or handed over by the family?
No.
Oh.
Well, the ones that are in dispute were the ones that were when the FBI bugged his house and his home. And those papers are the most contentious.
But that was filtered by the FBI. They're only going to release what they thought, what Hoover thought would be detrimental.
Yeah. He wanted to. That's why he put bugs in his.
He might have opposed Hoover because he was deadly against Martin Luther King Jr.
Yeah, well, the FBI was also against Stokely Carmichael, against,
They were against you.
They were against me. I could do another book on my FBI file.
Okay.
I have one too.
All of us have. I'll probably do a
Have they been released yet? If you wanted access,
I got mine.
You have.
I got mine from the church committee.
From
Frank Church, the senator. He started back in the 70s. He started an investigation.
Freedom of Information Act.
Freedom of Information Act.
That's great.
And so I was able to get a hold of a lot of materials that I had, including stuff I hadn't seen. And
so many things could be changed in the coming years after the publication of this record?
I don't think a lot is going to be changed. I think that
Because that record is APA record is very important in handling the movement, in opposing and facilitating, and in the legislation as well. So
I think Hoover was a different. I mean, even the Kennedys had to kind of calm Hoover down because he was a strong anti-communist. He had really built the FBI. You know,
Well, he founded
go after
It was
the
creature.
gangsters,
Yeah.
and so he developed all these tactics because he was there for 50 years, and including bugging Martin Luther King's house, the apartments, and I think that's the main thing that will kind of come out. You know, that Martin had affairs, and the FBI knew about it because they were always after him, and they wanted to undermine his leadership. And I think in some ways, you know, we're still dealing with that because I think the family, to me, if he wants a little a fling when he's 50 years old, I mean, or no, 30 years old, I mean, it's like maybe I would be a little bit more cautious, you know, especially how public you are. But he was running around with people like Harry Belafonte, who was also a target of the FBI. So a lot of that's another person who's been down here a number of times. Belafonte was one of the people who really encouraged the globalization of our struggle. I think the crucial year was basically in 1968 with the Olympic boycott. And there were a number of athletes who wanted to boycott the Olympics and to
You're
protest
welcome
against
to
it.
bring over one of those.
So I will send post the books on.
You could use that chair there if you want. Oh, that's fine.
So I can provide you the books written by the Sikh writers. Colonel G.P. Singh, he has been army officer in the United States military. So he has produced book on Gandhi, and even we both are have joint venture to author a book on comparison between Gandhi and Martin Luther King Jr. And I think it will take 1 year to complete to publish it. So definitely we will, because I have in 2012 perhaps I published my article, a comparison between Martin Luther King Jr. and that's available online as well. Yes.
Do you know Mary King?
King and Gandhi.
No, Mary King. Do you know?
Mary?
You know her? Mary. Her first name is Mary and her last name is King.
No.
She's written a book about this.
On the comparison.
A lot of it is comparison. I'm sure that that's upstairs someplace, but in any case, I think that she was. I don't know whether she finished the book or I think she was working on it.
Still, she has not published.
Well, she's published a number of things, but they're more anthologies. But she was one of those who was one of the first to start seeing the connection between these
Yes,
movements.
definitely. And I think that scholarly activities pave the way to reach a conclusion that's reliable based on some documents and very good argument as well. Because if the work goes on in scattered form, so there are not perfect conclusions. So seminars, conferences are important in this regard. That scholars who have been working on Martin Luther King Jr. must be presenting their papers, so that some questions and cross discussion can conclude some viable conclusions and findings.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think that's the next stage, is that one of the things I start my talks with now is I said that Martin Luther King was assassinated when he was 39 years old. If all of us were judged on what we've done at 39, we wouldn't make it, as most of us are just getting started in our careers and stuff like that in our 30s. But he was finishing it, and I think that's what makes him unusual, because I would start the talk and say, the important question is, what would he have done if he had lived another 39 years? Where would he have taken the movement? And I think it was quite clear to me that it was economic issues on a global scale, and that's where he wanted to take the issue.
You can see, without him, he was not replaceable.
No.
The people, brilliant as they were, the followers who stepped into his shoes, were not King. He was a unique individual. And
Well, it was a unique time. Because even then, there were people who took different paths. I was not a King person in that sense. I was never in his organization or anything. I was much more of a Stokely Carmichael person.
Yep.
So for me, it was, first of all, the religious part. I'm not very much of a Christian.
So, what would be your response if we request you to drop few words on our book when it is going to be published?
I'd be very interested.
Thank you so much.
With my physical health,
Yes,
it's
yes.
done fast.
No, we pray for your long life.
I had a stroke 2 years ago, and she's had a stroke. So
We're both in our 80s. So.
I was in the hospital for 6 months.
Oh my.
In rehab.
We do pray for your health, and by the grace of God, you will continue to guide the people to produce scholarly work. So we are very much sure.
You've heard the joke about the person who was like 80 years old. Give me one more year.
Yeah.
And then after one more year, give me one more year.
My father passed away when he was 110.
Oh my God. So you've got
Same with my mother.
You've got that in your genes then. Yeah.
So I think if you continue your interest, and you are among the people who like you, who facilitate you, and you are with the books that you like the most, I think it facilitates to live long.
and I am, until my last trip was in just less than 2 years, a year and a half ago. And that was the one to South Africa.
So how you feel if we arrange a conference on Martin Luther King Jr. here in San Francisco or somewhere?
If I'm able, I would be upset to be excluded. So, and yeah, it'd be great to. And in fact, I think that's what's kind of necessary, is that if we are going to have a global movement, there has to be a whole ground of understanding.
Definitely.
And I mean, just the conflict between India and Pakistan is that was one of the worst genocides
Yes.
in world history.
Yes, the situation is going worse day by day because there is no group that is allowed to work for reconciliation and peacemaking activities, because every person who will favor India, that will be considered agent of some organization, and somebody, even media person or writers, if they favor Pakistan, so they are taken otherwise. So this is problem, that we don't have strong group. And even our media, for example, in May, when there was a war between Pakistan and India, so media persons from India, they exhibited a very negative role. All they were saying that, uh, Indian army has entered Pakistan, they have captured Islamabad, they have captured the sea and other naval bases of Lahore, and there is no coastal area of the eastern side. Is that the Punjab that was divided? And even they did not know that there is no coastal area in Lahore, but they were claiming. So unfortunately,
What is there anything more about what happened in terms of that attack on the hotel?
no,
You don't remember that?
many years back.
Yeah, a number of years back.
I think that investigation.
15 years ago.
Yes. So whatever happens, but they are involved in the enmity on that level. If some pigeon cross the border and they captured, and they say that no, this is something spying bird. So this is very strange in technologically advanced period. They are playing very low level politics, unfortunately, and they need to follow the philosophy of non-violence launched by Martin Luther King Jr. When I was student, so I tried to launch a project. I designed a proposal for United Nations or somewhere else, but I could not succeed. Otherwise, I was of the opinion that all the politicians of India and Pakistan, even common people, they must read the direct action or non-violence philosophy imparted by Martin Luther King Jr., the 4 stages of direct action and protest and non-violent philosophy. So unfortunately, they are not ready to do that because America is not interested that American history should be. I had been student of American studies, but they are not interested that their syllabus should be included in curriculum or in some universities. So we had one paper of American history at graduation level, and then for postgraduate level, I was enrolled in American studies. So, but for such such a prestigious work and scholarly activities, so governments are no more interested to launch the personality studies who had contributed a lot to peace, non-violence, and all these, because these are blessings of God that such personalities are there at international level, because now it is a global village. You can conceive a lot from the other syllabus, research. But on 15th, I was among the audience in University of Stanford University. So my question, first question was from my side. So they were surprised. Oh, you are from Pakistan. Was it possible? A scholar who was working on Martin Luther King Jr. This is interesting.
Yeah, no, actually, if I had known, since I've been to India a number of times, I mean, that's one of the things that I think separates my work from most other works done in the United States. Is I've traveled to 40 countries, so I have an opportunity to see. For example, I mentioned about Ela Gandhi. She's working and she was very much involved in the anti-apartheid movement, and I still stay in touch with her. And in fact, we probably said happy birthdays in the last couple of years.
Are there people left who he might interview who are still around now, like people you're mentioning, who he might talk with, that has first-person information about the contemporary civil rights movement? Who might he speak with?
And you were talking about India. This BJP government has damaged a lot India. They have totally damaged Indian status at international level. There was a democracy in India and everybody like that. But BJP, they have terrified the minorities, Muslims, Sikhs, Christians, and killing of the Sikh leaders in Canada, in UK. So they got very bad reputation at international level. And Sikhs were massacred. You know that their Golden Temple was attacked by Indian military.
I didn't know that.
This is very important. June 1984, the Indian military attacked the most sacred place of Sikhs in Amritsar. That is called Golden Temple. If you Google the name Golden Temple, the most Sikhs. And for that, in revenge, they killed Indira Gandhi. They shooted Indira Gandhi. And all the other generals, except one, who is surviving in UK, in London. Kuldeep Singh Broad was army general.
Who did you say they killed?
Whom?
You mentioned the Gandhi.
Indira Gandhi. So the Sikh who has to be.
Oh, no. I was talking about the one I knew. Yeah, Ela.
Which one?
Ela Gandhi is still alive.
Indira Gandhi, yes. Indira Gandhi ordered to attack Golden Temple. And she launched a constant policy to massacre the youth of Sikhs. So I think 3 generations of Sikhs were killed by the state, Indian state. So that's why they are launching a movement of Khalistan, and they must have their own.
I regret that I should have had more conversations about that, because I know that there's been a lot of dispute in the United States about damaging Gandhi statues.
Yes,
places, yeah.
yes, definitely, because they have their behind the research produced by the books that he was a racist. There was no such attack by them, but it was that. But if they are if they are going to worship a racist person, so this is not good. When South African American came to know that they have gone through that material, so definitely they did not like it. And the second was that Tulsi, perhaps she was going to be presidential candidate in few years back. So she was getting funding from BJP. So they said that Modi, the presently who is working as prime minister, he was banned to enter the United States. So if she is getting funding from BJP, so how she can represent American people? So there was material I will provide you. The book, that's very important book. Although that's also available on internet, but we would like to provide you the books. So you know that every struggle has some intellectual push. If academic work and intellectual push is not there, so no movement can go ahead.
Yeah, yeah.
This is very important throughout the
Well,
world. Yes.
when I was in, what is it, Ahmedabad, there was the rioting going on, and I remember that there was an entire community of Muslims who were wiped out, and I mentioned to you how when I went to an ashram and across the street, my students, I said, yeah, why don't you go across the street? We don't go across the street.
Oh my God.
And these were religious students, and those are the ones. It just seemed so odd to just see them have on the wall all these signs about all their values, and yet seeing how it didn't really lead to them crossing the street to see who's living, and economically, you're talking about slums. These are very poor people. I mean, you can kind of tell, but I had a lot of fun with them because
They started few years back when they became government, BJP. So they started a movement, Ghar Vapsi, return to home, Ghar Vapsi Tehreek. So it means that all the people who are Muslims, Christians, and Sikhs, their forefathers were Hindus, and they were converted. So right now you should come back to home. You should become Hindu. Return to home. It was a movement. Still that goes on in India. Return to home. That if you will not become Hindus, so migrate somewhere else. Go to Pakistan, go to Europe if you are Christians, and go to Pakistan if you are Sikhs. We don't have place for you. So such extremist elements have disturbed South Asian politics and peace in South Asia.
So when they were introducing me to every non-Hindu person in the government, that was a joke.
Yes.
Because they don't have a lot of power.
And unfortunately, there were not social organizations working for peace, because there must be a social pressure on the governments to adopt such a policy that can conclude some peaceful settlement between the countries and society. But no civil society organizations are working for that. So thank you very much, and especially Stephen, and so we are thankful for this kindness. It was my dream to meet you, because in 1990, yes, or 2000, I did my MPhil, and I quoted your books and your articles, and it is amazing to be with you today. And we are also thankful Professor Farooq Ashraf, who took us here, and he facilitated us. He provided us vehicle, very comfortable, and he has not created any problem for us. He's a very, very
A good-
generous person.
He knew his way here.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. But